Hey, this is Matt Wallace, JM Wallace here on Twitch on Music Quest. This is going to be a nice little interview today. We're going to be talking with Soul, and I am going to bring him on right now. So, afternoon.
Hey, nice to see you, man. Nice to meet you.
I'm happy that we're doing this. You and I have talked a couple of times. We've talked for quite a bit over a period of time. Your father and I go way back, and back a while back, he was telling me about you and your music. Uh, he didn't use the word quest, but he was talking about uh, you pursuing music. And I think at the time you were with a friend in Malawi, and you guys were, or you had already moved, hadn't you? Or
I had met him just a month before he moved, and we just decided to work on a bunch of projects, and then went back to the US and like, hey, it would be nice to have somebody who actually knows what he's doing, who's been in the industry a while to give us some advice. So it's like, Dad, do you know anybody? And he was like, yeah, there's this guy, Matt Wallace. Let me give you his email. That's like fantastic. And we started going back and forth, and
yeah,
here we are.
absolutely. So, um, we don't have a whole lot of history, but I we have been talking, and I'm very happy to have you with us today. So, there's no particular order in which we do these interviews. I mean, but it does make sense to let people have some idea as to who they're looking at, who they're listening to. And so we'll start off with a little bit of biographical information. We're not going to go too deep into that, but just tell people what you're willing to share. Like I said, you don't have to go into great detail. This is your life or anything like that. But you've moved around a bit. You've had some interesting cultural experiences. Tell us what you care to share about that kind of stuff.
Well, started out was I think my life was pretty perfect when I lived in the USA. So I started out in Virginia and then grew up in the woods. So like I was very forest oriented person, obsessed with nature. And I have a twin brother. We just would always go out and build stuff in the woods. And then we were raised by like au pairs from all different places, like the US, yes, Costa Rica, Peru, just New Zealand. Just my parents had people come in from everywhere. I don't know how they did it, but they found people, and it was just like we were always exposed to different cultures, even in our own culture. And then what happened was my parents had this opportunity to work for USAID, and we moved overseas to Kazakhstan when I was 8 years old, turning nine. Lived there for maybe 3 years, almost more than that. And then we moved to Malawi, lived there for about the same amount of time. Came back for COVID shortly, then went back to Malawi, and then moved to Guatemala. And that's where I am right now. So,
So it's interesting to me. I It doesn't have any connection with you at all. However, it's been weird to me. I've had a number of Guatemalan connections over the last 5 or 6 years. Oh no, after over the last 12 years or so. They're not hardcore connections, but some people who've spent time here with us over in the past are from Guatemala. And I don't know anything about Guatemala, but I might know a little bit more about Guatemala than the next guy, just because of
right.
that. So, you've been there how long?
Um, Gee whiz. Since September of 2021. So
So
over a year.
the actual length doesn't matter as much when you hear where I'm going with my question. What have you learned about living there, and tell me about the music scene there. I mean, you were involved and had your idea of music, so I doubt seriously if Guatemala has had a huge impact on your musical taste because you haven't been there that long. But tell me about that. What's that been like?
So this is a fascinating concept because, like I said, grew up in the woods. You know that like with a really country atmosphere. I always loved, like really acoustic, emotional stuff. Moved to the city in Kazakhstan, and there was like no trees. Or there were no trees where I lived, nothing. Kind of like was separate from home, moved to Malawi. We were in a place that had no city, really, but all the trees were chopped down. And so then we moved to Guatemala, and it's a nice mix of the two. But we live in a party town. So right outside my house is a club. And every other night they're playing party music. And so the only music I've really been exposed to in Guatemala is just like EDM, electric, ba, 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 ba kind of music. And it just like drives me insane because it's loud. I lose my mind. I'm always trying to record a song. And then
Oh,
like
that's
words are
awful.
going off. I'm dying. My dad recorded a memory course, and he's just like it was like retake, retake, retake. It was, but when we go out into Antigua and like the really cultural cities that display all the history, the music is like Spanish guitar,
Mhm.
Mayan drums, like everything is just beautiful flutes. So
Oh,
I,
very
I,
cool.
I like that part much better.
Well, that's cool. This has what you just said reminded me. I was on a business trip one time. I was working with a friend of mine, and we were actually installing a bunch of computer equipment in the airport at St. Martin's out in the Caribbean. And we stayed at this hotel right next to the airport, right on the beach. And I remember there was a band that played the same song. Like every other song, they played this one song over and over all night long. And it drives you crazy. Once it's something like that gets in your head and you've decided you've had enough, it just makes it that much more worse when you can't get away from it because that's where you're sleeping, man. So,
Yeah.
I don't want to get too far into Guatemala, but that's cool. I just thought you've traveled around. You've been in a lot of different cultures. What attracted you, or what was your experience with your friend in Malawi? Even though y'all didn't know each other that long, I enjoyed interacting with the two of you. That's what you were there when you and I first started communicating, right? And or you had just left.
No, we were in the US transitioning.
Okay, but you had just been there because you guys were acting like y'all hung out. You had some friends. You had some.
We bonded very fast.
Yeah, yeah. I got
So
that
his name is
impression.
Tito. He goes
You got to
by
get closer to the mic.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's getting
He
bump.
goes
Yeah, there we
by
go.
Theo. His name is Theophilus. Uh, how to spell that? I forget sometimes. It's like
That's fine.
Theophilus. It's a biblical name, I believe. And what happened was there aren't many restaurants in Malawi. So when there were events to hang out, everybody went to this one spot called Casa Kitchen. And my friend was performing there and he was like, hey, stop by, show some support, help me set up. And I did. And there was this other guy in the corner with his guitar, just standing there selling CDs. And I was like, you know what? He looks like a nice dude. I'm gonna go buy a CD. I was like, how much is it? He said 3,000 kwacha. I don't know how many dollars that is because the rates changed, but it was about $3 back then. Um, Bought the CD, best stuff I've ever listened to from a Malawian artist, but I didn't listen to it right away. Anyway, they had the performance, and my friend was performing, and then this guy was performing together. Geez, I'm losing track now. Okay, Theo performed, then my friend Hisham performed, and then together they performed. Oh, what was it? Something Mountains. The most popular John Denver song. Why does this escape me now? Matt, help me out.
Oh, okay. John Denver, Rocky Mountain
Uh,
High,
no, 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 no. Take Me Home, Country Roads.
Country Roads. That's by
How can
far
I
his
forget
favorite.
that? I feel like an
Well,
idiot.
you threw
But
the mountains in there. That's what threw me off because yeah, if you go anywhere internationally,
Mountain
take
Mama.
me home, Country Road. Everyone knows that one. I mean, internationally, everyone knows that one.
But Theo didn't know it. And so Hisham showed him the song. And Theo was on there like, this is a really nice song. He learned it in like 3 minutes. And then just they put on an amazing performance. At the end of the show, he saw me talking to my friend Hisham, who I knew, and he was like, "Hey, can I get your number?" And I was like, "Absolutely." I was like, "I'm a musician too. I write songs," and then we just hit it off from there and planned out a whole EP. And then he started coming over to my house, and we just really we really clicked. And then we met you
Well, that's
virtually.
so. Hey, Alex, glad you're with us. I don't have a huge following, so when someone says hi to me in the chat window on Twitch, I feel obligated to say hello.
I've been
So,
on your Twitch stream before.
oh,
It's
good.
lots of fun though.
Are you talking about mine or Mother Merms?
I guess Mother Merms, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. She's got the crowd. She's got the music. She's that's a real community. Mine's in progress. Let's just say. So let's get back to Theo. What attracted you to that? I mean, when you say you hear something and you like it, what does that mean for you? I mean, what do you like in music like that got your attention?
I guess to answer that question, start with the things I don't like because that'll really narrow it down for us. I don't like music that is superficial. I don't like anything that doesn't speak to my soul, right? Because I feel like music is a universal language. All right. You emotionally connect to it, even if you don't understand the words. And the thing about Theo's music is you can feel the passion, you can feel the energy, you can feel the musicality and the talent behind it. And he's just got this really incredible vibe. His lyrics are good. The overall message is just inspiring. I think it's art. So that's what I like about
Is it
music, the
in
artistic
English?
side. Mm, yes, it is in English, but he also writes in Chichewa,
Mm-hmm.
which is the local language in Malawi. Well, they speak hundreds of languages there, but that's the main one. Um,
How were you able to understand that or only the English stuff?
I understood one of the songs. The other one, I was like, "What is this?" But it was really good. So
I found
yeah, I
that
just
trying
stuck
to
with it.
understand, I, if you're even if you're relatively proficient in a language, um, when it comes to understanding lyrics, it's difficult. I mean, there's a whole nother way of hearing. If you're not super familiar with the language, sometimes it's hard to follow. That's my experience, at least.
Yeah, no, this I think I listen to his music more for the what's that just the feeling it gives you. Like it just speaks to me. But like when you're just sitting really, really, really still and something makes you happy, a memory, and all of a sudden you just get this like tingly feeling inside. I hate that. I really do. But with his music, it works. It makes it wakes you up. Like I just took a cold shower and now I'm super jittery. But his music is like a cold shower that's not jittery. Sorry, Theo, if
Wow.
you're listening
No,
to
no,
this.
no,
But
that's an interesting compliment, and I think I get what you're saying. That's cool. Um, so I don't want to talk all the time about Theo, but I'm just saying that's a little of our background. You had met this guy. You guys had been collaborating, talking about some stuff. You chatted with your dad. Your dad introduced you to me, and over the years I've been involved with a number of people who are getting started, and somebody says, "Hey, here's this guy." So there were these two guys. I'm going to tell you. You may or may not care about this, but I'm going to tell everybody. Years ago, I remember I was at this church service that my wife had been playing at, and I showed up late. And I just remember her saying to me, she goes, "Those two guys, they're rappers." And I can't tell you what it is. And this is in the late 90s or mid 90s, even. So she was like, "I don't know what to tell you, but I really think they've got something." And I'm not even too sure. So I had not heard them at all. Okay. Not heard a single thing from these guys. But she pointed them out to me, and they were young. They were in high school. And I walked over to them and I said, "Hey guys, My wife's a musician here. I produce things. I've got a recording studio. I don't know you. I know that this may come off as weird, but I said, since you guys are at church, I'm assuming you pray. I said, you guys pray. And I said, if God tells you to give me a call, here's my information. If he doesn't, no problem. But just, and then about a week later, they called me up and they said, yeah, this is really weird. We thought you were strange for saying that. But then they said, but we felt like God told us to call you. And I spent the next like 4 or 5 years producing albums, doing music videos with these guys and help teaching them production and audio stuff. And they were really talented guys. And that was real interesting. But that over the years, it's fun to work with people who are just getting started. First of all, I might be able to stay ahead of them a little bit. You know what I mean? Because I don't present myself as an expert, but I've got lots of experience. So it's fun to watch someone who is young start down this path. And I want to do whatever I can to encourage them and possibly point out some potholes here and there and things to watch out for. And you and I don't have that relationship necessarily, but I mean, that's just kind of, I'm genuinely interested in seeing how you pursue what you're doing and then help when I can. So let's back up a little bit. Professionally, you like to be called, or you are Soul, Soul. And so I think it's interesting to me that a branding identity is not musical, and yet it is part of the package. It's something that I think it's smart for you to have already considered how you want to be identified and in a package, if you will. How did you end up with that? Tell me about that name. I think you had said something, you had some very real reasons why you got there. What does it mean? Tell me a little bit about that, if you don't mind.
All right. So I'm a Christian, right? I was raised in a very religious background at a really nice church. And my whole life I've just been told like God, angels, Noah's Ark, like all that stuff. It's like, but where do I fit? Where do I fit in this little puzzle, right? It's like one day I die and I go to heaven and I just live for eternity. And my small human existence on earth will probably be important, but it'll seem minuscule, right? So I realized I'm not really this thing. This is my hand, right? It belongs to me. It's not me. I'm not like, for now, it's part of me, but it's like, it's my physical being, but it's not the entire me, right? And I think that I am a soul overall. I think that's exactly what I am. And the more I started to accept that reality, and only recently have I really become spiritually inclined. But the more I started to accept that reality, the more I felt that this is temporary, right? And then I started to realize I don't know of a tomorrow, right? I don't know. That's not promised to me. I might not get one. All I know is right now, and I remember everything, all my yesterdays. So I don't know of a tomorrow, but I remember my yesterdays. If now is what's important, then I know I shouldn't repeat my yesterdays. Kind of going a little off track here, but I guess it's just like everything is so, how do I explain this? Everything is so connected, but at the very same time, this is just temporary and nothing is guaranteed in this human form. If somebody kills me, my body decomposes, but I go somewhere else. Like, I don't think it's just the end. And I know I'm a soul. I know there's something out there. I know there's a God. So
I had
then I
no
realized I look
idea.
at
I had no idea you were going to go there.
right.
I had no idea you're going to go there. I am so inclined, but you and I had not talked about that at all before any of this conversation. I think it's interesting that you have picked up on something that I think more people are just inclined or willing just to kind of gloss over because it's that's a realm that's very difficult. I mean, you can approach it scientifically and say what's going on, and people devote their whole life to trying to figure out consciousness because that's something that eludes, what does it mean? What are the implications of it? But you are already talking about and seem to be in tune with what I would consider wisdom because realizing that about yourself and this experience, I think is going to serve you well. Now, I'm not in
Yeah.
charge of deciding such things, but that's my opinion and it's my channel. I can say whatever I want.
Yeah.
So what
Yeah.
prompted
Yeah.
this? You said your leanings, I don't want to get too far into this, but I mean, at the same time, I'm interested. What you said of late or recently? What prompted the focus? And I'm just curious, and we can move on after. Say whatever you want to say.
First, I want to say cold showers are a good idea, but not right before you're supposed to have a very serious conversation or even relaxed. I'm
So,
like bursting with energy, but I'm being like I'm stuck to this chair. So like
yeah.
I can't sit still. I can't think straight. But let me gather myself for a moment.
Okay, don't get too far away because the audio is
Yeah.
better when you're closer to the computer.
All right, I'll keep you super close.
So I'm constraining you even more now. So there you go. Sorry about that.
Yeah. So all right. Can you please repeat your question
I,
one
it was
time?
it was you had said of late you have a
Yeah,
little
okay,
bit more
okay.
of a spiritual. I'm just curious as to what maybe was the change. I
Yeah.
don't know that you want to share this because I don't want to put too much emphasis on it. But there are certain ages when people are figuring stuff out. And not
Oh
everybody
yeah.
figures things out at the same time. So we haven't talked about how old you are. We know that you've lived different places. You go by soul, and you're in Guatemala right now. That's about always. So, I
Yeah.
so where are you in that like development stage of life and that shift recently?
Okay, so I'm 17 years old. We'll start with that. I turn 18 in October this year. So almost an adult. Um, yeah, I've gone through the whole teenage stage in my life where, I'm kind of figuring things out, trying to see how I can do my job in this world. But I understand how like most teenagers feel lost. They're like, what do I do in this world? What's my position? Who am I? But I always knew exactly who I was. Like that never was a question to me. Who am I? Right? No, it was more like, how do I do what I'm supposed to do? Right? How do I be myself in a world that doesn't know who they are? Right? At least my peers. Right? I always felt like the odd one out because I knew what I was, and so then I went through this teenage phase. It was like depression and sadness and stress and school and just being overwhelmed. And then that developed into like insomnia and really bad habits. And then my brain pretty much shut down for a while and everything was just an emotional wreck. And I remember having big dreams, wanting to, you know, make music, write for people, tell a story, just communicate with the world, right? Wanted to tell them why I was here. And I didn't believe that I could do that because I had a mental disability. I was just broken down. I was a victim. And that was really the problem, right? I wasn't so spiritually inclined because I was distracting myself. I went, this is going to be an interesting topic, digital, right? Oftentimes, when we are uncomfortable, we try to escape our pain instead of handle it. It's like an immediate instinct. And at that point in my life, I was a major victim. So I went online to connect with what I understood. I watched movies, tons of movies, probably like 2 movies a day, and then just listened to music the rest of the day. Nothing was ever quiet. But that was only because I was trying to silence out my thoughts. I was overwhelmed. I have this thing where I can hear 3 different songs in my head at the same exact time and be able to tell them apart. And it would give me major migraines up until like 4 months ago. So I would shut the world out. And then because of that, I wasn't connected to my physical body. I wasn't connected to my soul, me, right? And I wasn't connected to my mind. And that's when I realized I need to start meditating. I need to start making changes that even if I don't think I'm capable of doing at the moment, I will stick to them and make those unquestionable changes that I can't argue with. Like, if you stick to something long enough, it becomes a habit, right? But if you stick to something when it's difficult and when you don't believe in yourself and you don't want to and you're uncomfortable, it becomes discipline. And that discipline is what got me out of that hole, out of that trap. And now, off of the digital, off of everything I was distracting myself with, and that's when like my brain started to rewire. And now I don't really rely on the brain so much, which we can get into later. Um, Hope that
So
answers the question.
no, that's interesting. I think there are a number of people who would do well to do what you just described. I know that even though I am significantly older than you, I'm 58. So um, I know that from time to time it's helpful to discipline yourself and put yourself on a different trajectory that may or may not be what you want to do long term, but it's a change. It lets you. It's I don't know about if you're I don't know if it's a good idea for young people to fast too much, but I mean
Yeah.
fasting, physical fasting is always been real interesting to me in that it always sucks. I don't enjoy it, but on the other hand, there's a point where there's a mental, somewhat spiritual. I mean, it can be both and or either or, but there's a clarity that comes once you've given yourself a chance to think and breathe and not be distracted as much because the world's happy to distract us. It's all about it because it's trying to monetize all that. It's trying to make a buck off of how it distracts us. So
There's a there's a quote. I don't remember who said it, but it was about the devil has a job, right? So the devil's one role is to make so much noise that people can't hear God, right? Make so much noise that we can no longer focus on what really matters, on what really is. And so I thought that was fascinating because that's exactly what's happening right now. Like even 20 years ago, but now more than ever.
oh, well, I think it's always been true. It's just the specific approaches to it evolves, and I think humans are always intrigued by the new and improved, but anything new and improved can be used for that exact purpose. I think that's within human nature. So we basically started off with how'd you end up with the name Soul, and I think you did a fantastic job of giving us some idea how you ended up with that. So let's talk. You had mentioned something. We're going to get to music, okay? But in the process of you talking, you had said something about being creative, telling stories and stuff like that. I think one of the things I mentioned or I noticed in some of the notes from when we were trading earlier, you're working on a little short film. it's like a thriller thing. Is that true?
Yeah, so I wrote a script, um, and then I had a friend who is the assistant director, um, go over it with me, make edits and final changes, and even come up with a little bit more content. And now we're just looking for a cast. I started with my school and classmates and everybody, and just like at first it seemed all right, but only a few of them stuck around because we realized not everybody's really an actor. Not everybody. It's not for everybody to participate in this big project and or a short project in comparison to like an actual movie. But then also like you have final exams, you have studies, you have sports, you have family, just a lot of responsibilities, especially when you're in that phase where you're trying to become an adult. And so what we need to do is look for actual actors, who do either do this for a living or want to do this for a living or actually have that passion and that drive and that time for it. And once we find a cast, then it's straight to filming because we already have everything else set up.
Well, I hate to
Did
tell
you
you
want me to
this.
tell you about the film?
No, it's fine. Maybe, but I was just with what you said. I hate to tell you that busyness of life it changes depending on what season you're in, but I have been sad to see how life can minimize the amount of creativity people are able to maintain in their life over time because of the challenges and the requirements of whatever's in front of you. And
Yeah.
so, and finding people who are willing to do the work on such a project is in fact um, challenging. And you could not have said anything more true than not everybody's out for acting. Finding good actors is hard. And bad acting can take the best story and
I'm
just
a
make
bad
it a
actor,
joke. Yeah.
but this gives me
It's
more time to practice. So
well, you could always take if you're not too terribly tied to your project and take it too seriously, you could always make it entertaining by intentionally having bad acting in it because that's actually kind of hard in its own way. But the problem is not the problem. The beauty is that if you take that approach, then you're already looking for it to be entertaining and fun. And now you don't have the pressure of having actual acting. Finding bad acting is usually pretty easy. It's just you obviously you're going to do whatever you want to, but I'm just saying finding good actors are very difficult. So the reason why I noticed that is that we're part of a film society here locally, and
yeah,
about a year and a half ago for Halloween, we shot excerpts from The Shining, Night of the Living Dead, Psycho, Silence of the Lambs, and Rosemary's Baby, and made a short film out of all those kind of mashed up. And I'm not a horror guy. I'm not a thriller guy. That's not my thing at all. But these are very, very famous scenes from movie history. And so when we put them all together, it was interesting to see how compelling it was because, if it's ever going to be compelling, these are like time tested stuff. But I'm not really into that. So when I saw that you were working on a thriller short film, you said you were going to call it Before the Shadows, or that's the current name, right?
right.
Well, cool. I wish you well on that. Maybe after maybe when you get into that, we can swap some notes on that as well. Because I've done a number of short films, and I've done some with full crews, and I've done some completely by myself. I did one short film where I set up 3 cameras on the side of a mountain, had 3 actors, and I was the director and the cameraman. I would literally run around all of the cameras when I'd call action and turn them all on. So like I was the entire crew, and then I've done it with full crew. So there's lots of variation you can do there. So I wish you well. So tell me, Another thing that I think overlaps with, but is not music specific, is you were talking about trying to create a community uh, focuses on improvement of the mind, body, and soul. Hashtag together. I mean, what it sounded like you are on a mission, if you will, on your quest, not necessarily music only. What's going on with that?
So what I was telling you about earlier was how I was a victim at one point, right? How I had this depressive phase. I'm sure as a teenager, everybody goes through that. Everybody goes through depression, right? But that became my identity and a bunch of other things, things I don't want to talk about, but will gladly talk about if because it's important, right? Um, so what happened is I was a victim. I was weak. I could barely get out of bed. I would lay there as long as I had time to, would drag myself through school. You know, it would take me 2 hours to brush my teeth just because I was too tired and was always just like really particular about how I brush my teeth. Just like my teeth are white, my teeth are clean, right? But and I probably finished the job, but my gums would bleed just because I was exhausted. Just like I wouldn't be able to finish one task. It was difficult at that time. I would get like maybe 3 hours of sleep max on a good day or night, and stopped working out so much. I used to be the strongest person in my grade, and I went to being pretty much the well. It was during COVID, so I didn't have anybody to compare myself to. Maybe that's a good thing, but maybe it's not because I always need pressure. Anyways, I was a shameful person back then, right? I look back at that person version of me and I don't recognize him. Now sometimes I start to slip down and I start to, watch a little bit of social media and I feel like my brain's being poisoned, right? I'll be watching Instagram reels or YouTube shorts, not intentionally, just that curiosity in my mind naturally just lures me into that trap. And I start to wonder, it's like, why am I looking to social media for motivation? I should be looking within, right? This is where the change happens inside. Um, why why do I need to be inspired? Why do I need the answers from some outside source that isn't even relevant to my life? It's I already like 10 minutes on Instagram and I feel like I'm gonna die. But I still keep scrolling because like now my brain, everything rational about my brain is shut off. And so I started thinking, all right, now I just need to go feel pain. So I go to the gym, I go punish myself harder because I know that if I can get used to being uncomfortable in a way that improves me, then I know that I will be successful and that I will be able to resist the trap next time. And over time, it starts to work. And I stop being tricked by social media. And I kind of want that for other people because whenever I do see the content, it's kind of like how many lollipops can somebody fit into their mouth at one time? You know, just like kid content by like 30-year-olds, and it makes me feel sick. I
Hey, so I have an observation for you, and you already figured this out. I lay money. However,
mhm.
I applaud what you're saying, and I think it's fantastic. The irony of it is what?
The
That
community. Wait, you
you're
want me to?
likely to
I'm sorry, I didn't get.
you're likely to use the exact same tools as
I
part of
know,
your that's
I
that's
know.
the beautiful irony of what you're
That's how
discussing.
I fell back into the trap. I downloaded Instagram and was like, I need to make some posts. I need to speak to people because this is actually, I had this conversation with myself. I said, I'm never going to be the person who posts stuff like that. So I haven't posted anything that I believe is irrelevant. I haven't done any dances. I haven't even shown my face. This is actually the first time I'm showing my face on social media. So whoever's watching,
Hey,
lucky.
we're not very social. And there's nobody watching.
Hi, man.
I should not insult our audience, whoever they may be. But no, I'm trying to be funny, and I'm not necessarily good at it. But yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because the very tool that can be problematic, you have to acknowledge its power and its ability to communicate with a larger group of people with a reasonable cost. And you have to go to where people are, and people are in those formats. They're in those different channels. And so it's a really interesting challenge you're talking about there. And I apologize for highlighting it maybe more than you needed to, because maybe that was obvious to everybody, but it is ironic.
I want to talk about this because it's a pet peeve. Like it aggravates me. And the community. So to answer your original question, the community is about growing, right? It's about improving and not being a victim. You know, I would look to distractions to just get some escape so that I wouldn't so that I wouldn't, if you ever feel overwhelmed, you know that if you continue to be in that state, you will collapse and that you won't be able to continue. So I know if I want to prolong my life, right now, I need a break. But I couldn't sleep because I was insomniac. So what would I do? I'd go to watch movies on Netflix. You know, Outer Banks is a very good show, but I can't watch it like 6 times. That's not healthy. So then, like at the beginning of 2021, last year was my year for improving my mental and physical health. And I realized this has to be done together because they're symbiotic, or they just work together. Everything is like, if you aren't physically healthy, your brain's gonna fall apart. If you aren't mentally healthy, you're not going to be able to control your body and do anything physical. So I started working out consistently. I haven't missed a day in over a year now. Every day. I changed my diet. I started drinking 8 tall glasses of water and then coffee or white tea, just like everything healthy. I don't eat lots of carbs. I'm on a protein diet. I'm not saying do that for everyone, but carbs make me feel lethargic. So I limit that to like maybe 60 grams of carbs unless I'm really trying to put on muscle. And then anyway, I become really, really healthy. I meditate every morning, right? I have these non-negotiables that, make me a better person. And all of a sudden I started to realize I don't have depression. I'm not depressed. I feel depressed. How can I be sad? That doesn't make any sense. You can't be an emotion because an emotion is not an identity unless you allow it to be, right? I am soul, right? Or my real name. I am this person that I identify as. If I am anger, if I am madness, then that's going to be what I experience. So then I realized, okay, if what I am is what I experience, then I just need to choose to be happy. And all of a sudden, I stopped being so depressed because, like the media and therapists and psychiatrists will say, you are diagnosed with clinical depression, you have anxiety, you have post-traumatic stress, you no, I don't. I do if you say so, and I decide I do, right? I understand that you can feel depression, but you can't be depression. And there needs to be a fine line drawn. If you want to be better, then that's what you're going to be. So the whole
So
point of this community is to not be a victim and
you
to come together to make that change happen and hold each other accountable.
you are in the realm of there's a discussion, there's a way that people talk about certain topics that are problematic. And your experience and the way you describe that, I applaud your efforts and the apparent success or leanings towards success that you seem to be exhibiting and sharing and benefiting from. And it's real interesting because I think I hear very clearly what you're saying as far as your choice and I think a lot of people could and should see what you are saying and could benefit from following your example the best they understand what you it was a very short description of what you talked about, but the problem with this conversation I found, and please hear me that I'm
Oh,
not
there are a
pushing.
couple.
I,
I
I,
understand.
I'm not trying to push back in any way against what you said, but the
Oh,
problem you
please,
find.
please push back.
Well, I'm
We
not.
need to have
I'm
this talk. It's very
well.
important.
Fair enough. But my point is that when you say the words that you said, I'm playing a little bit of devil's advocate because there are people who are depressed, and their ability to make the kind of decisions that you're talking about making medically appear to be outside of their grasp to
Right.
actually do. And so I'm not trained in that. My suspicions are more people um, are not that, but are experiencing what you were describing, the negative side, because
Yeah.
of the choices they're making. And it looks very, very much like actual depression and things that people don't have. It all comes down to the bottom. And like I said, I'm not drawing any lines in the sand, but it does come down to our ability to make choices. And and because there are real situations where people's ability to make choices are inhibited for whatever reason, and that's a real thing. Unfortunately, that realization can easily become and I'm very sorry, I don't have a better word, excuse for other people not making the better decisions. And it's real gray. I don't even pretend. I hope nothing about what I'm saying sounds like I've got it figured out. But I like hearing the way you described how you process through this. The formula that you described sounds like it would help almost anybody. It doesn't necessarily mean that other people would necessarily end up in the same spot that you are. So the
I
conversation that
mean,
you think we're having, what do you even think this conversation is that quote needs to be had?
okay, so let me clarify. I definitely recognize this is going to be controversial because if I talked to myself a year ago, right, if I said, hey, buddy, you're depressed because you say you're depressed, wake up. I would have tried to slap myself in the face, but it wouldn't have worked because I would have just been psychotic. Anyway, like if you see yourself talking to yourself, you might be schizophrenic, right? Or maybe you're just very creative and have a very large imagination. But if I told myself that most of what I just said, I wouldn't have believed it. I wouldn't be like, I'm not Rocky, bro. I can't just like run up to a mountain, like the top of a mountain and say Drago, and then like everything gets better and I finally win that fight I've been trying to avenge my friend Paulo Creed. Look, the thing is, I understand it's controversial. I understand that like the whole world is being told that everybody has something that's wrong with them and sometimes you're an outlier and there's something that you can't fix. But if you go to therapy and you get medication, then it'll be in your control just a little bit, or you can numb the pain. And it's just like, what happens when you don't have those tools anymore, right? All of a sudden, either your problems are back or you've become weaker as a person because you haven't learned how to deal with things that you struggle with. And that's really harsh, but it's look, nature is harsh. All right. Why do you think, like, do you think animals or our ancestors really got depressed? Uh, I'm pretty sure they were too busy fighting off lions or bears and each other with rocks to like put food on the table. So I really think if you occupy your mind with the right things, things that you know will make you better, or even if you don't know they'll make you better, you know, the effort that you put in, just the act of trying is better than sitting there and accepting your situation. You're going to get some positive results. Now, it took me months. Actually, it took me years because I was always trying to overcome my depression. I was always trying to overcome my struggles. But last year, once I made those non negotiables, work out, eat healthy, meditate, do the things that I struggle to do, sit still, right? Shut off that voice in my head and just be. That was difficult for me. And I would be depressed and I would get overwhelmed. And sometimes I said I'd never missed a workout. Sometimes I would miss a workout, but the next day I just do 2 of them. All right. And in total, it's definitely every single day is accounted for. But that's how rigid I had to be hard on myself, because otherwise I would have made excuses for myself and I would have fallen into this trap of, I can't do any better. It's not my fault. It's like, it's not your fault, but it's your responsibility. All right. I don't like that most of the kids my age are being told that it's okay to be weak. It's not, right? That's how you fail in life. How are you going to protect the ones you love? How are you going to take care of yourself? How are you going to live a good life if you can't overcome your problems, right? So, do those non-negotiables, do those things that you've been putting off, or that, like, I didn't believe that I'd be able to go to the gym and do more than one set. But the fact that I didn't quit and I just stayed in the gym for long enough to make certain that I would get the set done. And then it's like, you know what? I'm not dead yet. I'll do another and do another and do another. I was telling my brain, even subconsciously, that, hey, this is important to me. This is uncomfortable and I'm going to do it anyway. And now I know for a fact that I can do it. And I never had an excuse again to not work out. And so what I'm just trying to say is strengthen your brain, strengthen your mind. Don't be a victim, because that's the trap. That's like, social media is a trap because it's enticing. It makes you feel comfortable.
So
it's victimhood.
I can't help but think that I'm going to send you a link to a video I saw not long ago that actually provides some scientific research on how our brains create and react to certain activities. That is, I can't imagine that you're not going to think that this is interesting, because this is what the guy's name looks like. It's Andrew Huberman. I'm going to send you a link to
It looks
this.
so familiar.
I don't know, but he was being interviewed, and I'm going to send you this link. I think you're going to dig it. I've told my wife I've watched it. It's oh gosh, it's an hour and 42 minutes long.
I can just listen to it like when I'm doing whatever.
Absolutely, but it's also of the caliber that you kind of have to listen to it, because they're covering a lot of territory. But I told my wife, I said, you've got to watch this, because we've been experiencing some real benefits, because we put ourselves in an extreme situation since the first of the year. I told my mother Myrm and I have a tendency to not do well with habits, good habits. And we kind of are extreme personalities sometimes. And I said, the best way to do this is we've got to give ourselves an extreme regimen and pretty hardcore workouts, and very consistently. And it's been positive. I mean, I can relate to what you described. Okay, so this is not a health channel. You and I didn't sign up for this. This is Music Quest.
My favorite thing to talk about, though. I mean, like, look, it's going to be in my music. It's going to be in my music, or in the messages that I put on the media.
I can appreciate that. And like I said, when you and I were talking about what we would be talking about, I said, don't worry about whether or not we're talking about only music. Music was what brought us together, right? Music is how we met each other. And that's how you meet a lot of different people. So I'm not trying to put a kibosh or stop this particular part of the conversation. I do want to go towards a little bit more music specific stuff for a while, and then we'll drift back this direction at some point.
That's
Yeah,
just the
yeah.
way.
So I'm going to say if anybody's on the chat right now and they're into this conversation and would like to ask a very specific question, you're welcome to. That may pull us back into that as well. But I was looking at, from a music standpoint, I think you mentioned this earlier. You write music, you've been recording stuff, but you haven't publicly released anything because you've kind of stepped back and you're reassessing and you're wanting to uh, the thing that you do publish, you want to be a certain something, and you are in the process of creating some tracks right now that you are going to show. So we don't even really have anything to listen to right now. How do you describe what you do musically?
So I've been wanting to release for a very long time. I've had, I have just a pile. Like I've written more than 300 songs in my life, even with instrumentals. But I've deleted probably 200 of them, and then I've singled out maybe 10 of them that are the most profound, that I would say I would say portray the emotion that I felt more profoundly. Um, that I really want to share with the world. Because the thing about me is that I've I believe that I've overcome the victim mindset. Now, it's always possible to drop down to a lower version of yourself and start to fail again, start to deal with struggles. But I also recognize that when I do drop down to that lower level, I need to look at the past and think, how did I overcome it? Right. And so I put together this album of very depressing songs. Most of my music is going to be sad anyway, because that's just when I'm at my most musical, is when I'm feeling very terrible. Misery is pretty much my musical trigger. But anyway, I put together this album of sadness that are different parts of my life in which I was struggling with something that will paint the picture of my background that then caused me to have to change. And so I will kind of be taking people into my past. And then after they listen to all of that and they start to understand who I was, then I'll show them something new and they'll see who I am. It's kind of like a blank slate because a lot's going to happen. And we're going to go on this wonderful journey together of overcoming the victim mindset. And I think that's kind of the beauty of it, that I get to take you into my past, but it's the present for a lot of people. A lot of people are struggling at the moment, and not many people are talking to them, right? Like the people who are so depressed, so hopeless, so I don't know what I'm going to do. Look, if songs are happy, then you know exactly what that means, right? If you listen to a happy song, you're like, yeah, I understand. And like the artist, you know where they're going in life. If they're just smiling, you understand who they are in that moment. But sad people can't communicate their feelings. And so it makes it very difficult to talk to sad people. I'm an introvert naturally. Um, don't really enjoy talking to people unless I admire something about them, but I will anyway. The thing is, when I was depressed, I couldn't talk to anyone. I had lost my ability to communicate. But the only thing that I understood that I could create that other people understood was music. And so that kind of became my language, my default language.
So
And
that's really
that's how I talk
significant.
to people
Yeah.
who need somebody to talk to. We'll overcome it together.
So it's interesting because it sounds like you have very intentionally put yourself on a path where theoretically you would have less of that sadness in your future. Does that mean less musical creativity in the future?
No. And here's why. Because, like I said, I just took a cold shower. All right. I do not enjoy cold showers one bit. I hate them. I actually hate working out because I I'm asthmatic. That's gonna change, hopefully. I'm working on improving my endurance and my ability to breathe. So I'm overcoming that at the moment. And I'll run anyway. But I hate running. I hate working out because it's so uncomfortable. Um, but I'm the type of person who would do it anyway, right? Because I know that if I become better, if I just prove to myself that I can every day, now I have so much evidence to just prove that I can't fail in the long run, right? I back up the fact that I can do what I want to do, what I need to do, so then it's just like, well, what happens when I have no more problems to overcome? There's always another problem. All right. If you look deep inside long enough, I meditate, so I do look inside, you will find a billion more things that you want to improve, an infinite number. You might not have time as a human being, but maybe when you die, you'll have more time then. Who knows? Um, so, how do I write music when I'm not feeling sad? I just have to go experience something very intensely, or I will channel somebody else. I have a lot of friends who are struggling, right? And I write songs for them and it usually helps. But or I know I'll feel sad in the future, maybe like I'll have a breakup, all right? It's happened before, or somebody in my family will die. My grandparents are getting, I'm sorry, grandparents. Like I know you're gonna watch this. You get I hope you have
That
a good more than a decade, and I love you, and you guys are healthy, wonderful people. But it's gonna happen one day, and it's gonna break me for a little while.
So,
Um,
I mean, the fact of the matter is that my wife and I joke, and it's not anything profound or new, but we always say nobody gets out alive, bud. So, I mean, it's a truth that we all did get to deal with.
thing is about death. I do think that if you die, but you are conscious, you're aware of your reality, of who you are, of your purpose, and you know that you've done what you were supposed to do on the planet or in the universe. And when you die, you're just moving on to another step in your life, right? You died physically, but then your body decomposes and hopefully nourishes the plants, Some fungi will break it down and give it to trees. So it's just kind of like, I don't think you really do die. I think you just move on. And that's actually kind of interesting too, because as a Christian, I was raised to believe, all right, if you believe in Jesus Christ, you get to go to heaven. Woohoo. And if you don't believe in Jesus Christ, you're going to burn in hell and it's going to hurt. And I struggled with the concept. Why would a loving God ever make people suffer if he loves you, right? If he has already forgiven you, why can't we just let sleeping dogs lie and move on and all be happy together in heaven, right? But I'm starting to wonder, maybe, maybe when you die, you just do the human life again until you get it right.
Now that's blending a couple of different belief systems there.
I'm not
Um,
okay. So I am a Christian, but I'm definitely an unorthodox Christian, right? I'm
fair
not
enough.
very
Fair enough.
dogmatic.
Fair enough.
So
Well, I mean, those are classic questions. What you're describing, what you just said, is the question that people have to figure out. And ultimately, my observation is it comes down to who's in charge. I mean, do we put ourselves in charge or do we put God in charge? And that leads you a lot of different places, and the ramifications of that are pretty profound, and I would say eternal. But we will not go down that path right now, even though we can definitely do that later. I would like to say that the idea that you use your music as a way to communicate historically in your own unhappiness, difficult situations, and that you use it currently to communicate and encourage others who are dealing with it as well. it speaks to how important and how powerful the music can be if it in fact does help you and help others, because those are weighty topics. Um, does the music that you wrote when you were sad still make you sad today, or does it encourage your spirit
So
in
okay,
its
so here's the
current
thing.
state?
And this is actually like I like I kind of like being able to look back at my sad music and see that I've come so far. So sure, my sad music makes me sad, but only when I choose to be, right? Like I said earlier, you get to determine your reality. It makes me feel sad. It doesn't actually make me sad, right? But at the same time, if I choose to be sad, if I want to experience all that pain, I let it rush right back in. So I remember what those things felt like. I haven't forgotten the torment that I went through. So I know when I look at my old songs, sometimes I'll just be like frozen, just like, was that really who I was? Right. And I feel it. Um, and I also know what inspires me to write. It's not just pain. It's other people's pain. Because if I live my life knowing that I can help millions upon millions of people and I don't, I'll feel like a failure. And I'll know that they're suffering because I didn't do something. All right. Now it's not me who has to make like who has to, help them change. Or like from the okay, that definitely came out wrong. I do have to help people change. It's not me who changes them for them. They have to do the work, is what I'm saying. But if I can help, if I can plant that seed and give them the fruit to nourish them and give them the opportunity to become better, that nobody did for me, then I know that I'm doing my purpose. I'm doing my job on the planet and I'm not failing. So that's kind of my drive.
So, there was a comment in the chat that I want you to see. You should be able to see it. I'm going to pop it up on the screen. So, this was said by somebody. I wanted you to check it out.
I would bet that music he writes out his happiness and joy will be as helpful and encouraging as his sad music was. Thank you,
That's.
Mom.
I thought you might enjoy. I thought that might encourage you.
It does. I don't really have any fans. I have my family and I have um, friends. I have a lot of friends, like because of living all over the world and going to different schools in each country, like multiple change, so much change in my life. What stayed consistent was my feelings for a certain period of time, my depression, and that pushed people away. But for the people who stuck around, we got really close because they were struggling too, and we had to help each other. And then there was a time where I was so overwhelmed. All right, I saw that message again. It's nice to have a new friend. Look, when everything got to be difficult and overwhelming, it was just kind of like, all right, now I need to be pulled out of school because I can't focus, I can't sleep, I can't see. I lost my vision. I was so stressed that I couldn't see anything, and it was kind of just like my parents like, this isn't sustainable. We're going to homeschool you. And then COVID came, and then everybody was locked up,
Yeah,
and so
you were
now I
ahead.
was back with my
You
misery alone.
you were ahead of the curve. You went homeschooling even though everybody was getting ready to do that
two
too.
months before COVID.
So you had
two
it already
months.
figured out.
Yeah, I was already adjusted to the lifestyle, but it was hard. And then I moved to Guatemala during COVID while I was still like such a weak little human being. And I just struggled and struggled and struggled and struggled. And I was like, all right, you know what? New school, fresh start. I'm going to go. I'm going to make friends because I'm good at that. And we're going to rise up together. And about a week into the school, well, actually, it started out on Zoom, but once we got to the country, they opened it back up after like the first 2 weeks. And then we went there in person, and I became super overwhelmed because I wasn't used to people and I wasn't able to communicate anymore. And I was still struggling with my problems, and the workload was heavy. And I felt like an outlier. Nobody understood me. Nobody knew. Like everybody was interested in TikTok and like, what Jay-Z's doing and Kim Kardashian. Is like nobody showed or talked about, what they wanted to be when they grew up, how they felt, what really mattered. And so I fell apart again, and I wasn't able to show up at school. And all of a sudden, I was doing the work from home, coming on Zoom lessons sometimes, but doing all the work from home and never going to school in person. We had that option because um, it was just allowed back when COVID was a really big thing. And anyway, I never had the opportunity to make friends in Guatemala. And so I still don't have any friends here. I've been here for over a year. And so I have friends all over the world and even acquaintances in Guatemala, but nobody here who I can be present with. And that's been difficult, but I became, I realized I was my own worst enemy, and I needed to overcome myself before I could go back into the world and befriend people, because I didn't want to have nothing to bring to the table. So now I've become a person who can be a friend, right? Who can communicate with people, who can talk to people, who can understand what it means to be present and care for other people. And I
So
guess the first time, and
you're making a new. You said you don't have any friends there, but you're capable of it. So you're in transition of taking the new version of you and then maybe adding a couple of local friends. I have friends all over the planet.
right.
And
I still keep in touch with those guys, but
I can
nothing.
relate to some of my best friends, the ones I enjoy engaging with, are not on this continent. And the ability that our communication tools give us is to stay being able to communicate. Some of these people I don't need to talk to every day. If I talk to them once or twice a year, I am the connection is so strong. It's not like something that has to be
Just pick
handled
up where
every
you
day.
left off.
Yeah, exactly. And so there's some people who do that well. There are other people who don't seem to be able to do that at all. They have to be physically in the presence of the people they are engaging, or they don't relate. They do not do long distance relationships well. There are others who do. And I can definitely understand what it's like to have friends far away and maybe not as many as you do locally. It's it's a thing you have to be aware of and manage. So you're in the process of adding more local friends. Is that what I heard you say or not?
Yeah, I'm starting to become a whole lot more social. But let me just say um, a contrast is that when I was depressed and I didn't have any friends, I was lonely. But when I was no longer a victim and I didn't have any friends, then I started to realize I am the one person on this planet who looks out for myself more than anybody else. I am my friend. And because I see myself as a soul over just a physical walking piece of flesh, just kind of just like, all right, now I'm connected to the universe. And what is a part of something, if not itself? I've said this on my Instagram. It's that I am the universe. Everybody is the universe. We're parts of it. We are the universe. And so I see every human being as an extension of myself. And if they're struggling, then I'm in pain and I need to fix that. So I don't feel lonely anymore just because I've shifted my perspective and I've grown as a being. And I think that's important for people to recognize.
That would explain the intensity and the breadth of the stuff that you posted on Instagram. I'm going to pull that up. So you want to walk us through one or two of these?
Sure. All right. Got to get my glasses. Hold
All
on a
right.
second.
All right.
I've got sometimes have bad eyesight still. It's come back and then it's gone. I think it gets better and better every day as I meditate. I don't know why, but this statistic is just that I've recognized. The more that I meditate, the better my eyes are. How does that work? Who knows? But meditate, guys. If you wear glasses, just, you know, all right, you're only afraid of the universe because you're afraid of yourself. I already memorized this. I probably didn't need to read it. But the universe isn't afraid of you because it isn't afraid of itself. Know that if we wanted to hurt you, we'd only be hurting ourselves. So please let me love you as I love myself. And that's poetry. That's not a song, but it's what it describes what I was saying earlier about being the universe, right? And because I am the universe, I do not need to fear myself or others. I just need to connect. I need to embrace fully. And all those other people out there who are disconnected with even like just other human beings, with not in touch with their feelings, scared of the world, don't be, right? That's just you out there.
So
Just a version of yourself you haven't met yet.
it's under the name of Sign of a Soul.
Yeah.
That's that's a
That's the only Instagram handle I could get.
Sign of a Soul.
Yeah.
Oh, it's cool. So
Kind of
you
like, hey,
post stuff out there ever so often that resonates with you, and it's not
yeah.
intended to be anything that you turn into music. It is just
Actually,
poetry for poetry's sake, or what?
I will be posting lyrics on there eventually, but yeah, that's kind of just poetry at the moment. It's what's on my mind, and I like to give it a pattern or like some cadence, something that makes it easier to take and remember. Um, Also, I also think like if you were to say, dogs are cute when they're tiny little puppies. All right, I get your point. But if you say dogs are the best animal in the world when they're little puppies, and you say like dogs are extravagant little bundles of joy, you just intelligently choose your words, all of a sudden you painted a picture that people actually prefer. And so I'm kind of, my job is to talk to the people, right? To connect with humans. How can I do that if I'm not making an effort? And so I just try to make it sound as great as it can.
Fair enough. All right, so you had said a couple of different times that you obviously have had different school experiences between homeschooling and then also being in different school settings in different countries, but you are definitely school age. You were talking about studying, and one of the things you had done is you don't have any original music posted on your YouTube channel, but you
Yet.
posted some stuff. Yeah, I got it. I got it. I got it. But you had posted some stuff for yourself that you thought would be helpful to other people. So tell us about that. I'm going to pull that up real quick. So this is your YouTube channel, which is
Mhm.
also S_O_U_.
I should probably change that. That's difficult to type. Yeah.
Oh, it's fine. So
Um,
that's your channel. So you got these tracks out there. We can legally listen to these.
yeah,
Like click on
definitely.
them.
I have a license. I
Which
put the credit in there.
which one do you want
I
me to click on?
I like Traveler's Jazz. That's it.
Travelers Jazz. There
I
it
listen to
is.
them every day, by the way.
So what's the significance of this? Tell
So
people what this is about.
I noticed being a very musical person and just someone who likes to always have an emotion, always feel something. I need I need music, and when I study, or actually, I force myself to go without music, but that's a different topic. When I study, though, I noticed that everything starts to become so systematic and so limiting. And when I'm writing papers or doing schoolwork, I'm focused, but I get distracted because I feel like I'm not connected with myself. And I understand that like sometimes schoolwork is boring, so I want to listen to music. But all the music I like has lyrics because I listen to a lot of hip hop and R&B and stuff. So when I listen to those songs, I start singing along and I get distracted, and then it just defeats the purpose. And
Mm-hmm.
so I was like, all right, I'm gonna go on Fiverr and talk to a producer. This guy is Liper, Liper. You can find him on YouTube at Liper Beats. And I'm gonna get some beats and I'm going to mix and master them. Uh, I'm gonna pick the best ones I can find. I even asked him to like hand select some for me. And if I feel like it, I will add some instrumentals to it. So I did to some of the tracks. Just get them tipped up shape, put them on a YouTube video, and now I have a playlist to listen to every time I'm studying. I do like some contrast sometimes, so we'll switch it up, but it really helps. Made improvements.
Well, okay, that makes sense to me.
That's just the point of those. Those are just temporary, like just just kind of like to help temporarily. I figured like if they help me, I might as well put them online and let other people listen to them while I'm getting stuff together. So
Cool. Well, I mean, people, if they watch this, they'll know that they're out there. Um, so stylistically speaking, you had said, you listen to R&B, or I mean,
yeah,
rap, or that's interesting that you say that that's what you listen to, because I asked you for some groups and you gave me Guns N' Roses, Nirvana, Audio Slave, and Red Hot Chili Peppers. Were you kidding me, or
I listen
how?
to a lot of stuff.
Fair enough, but I mean, but
Um,
you did not mention anything like that at all a second ago. So I'm just kind of curious. You got to
so
tell me
okay,
more about
so
that.
when I listen to rock and roll, I start bobbing my head. So I know for a fact that I can't listen to rock and roll when I'm trying to study. But I'm a big fan of Guns N' Roses and Nirvana, um, Red Hot Chili Peppers and Audio Slave. Rest in peace, Chris Cornell. But that's some like I would actually say I prefer rock music over. Well, actually, I'm not going to make any statements like that, but it's amazing. It's very amazing to. I like their music because they're emotional. They're very connected with how they feel, and they always paint an image, and they just sound fantastic. And I think each person lives their life with, like each member of the band, especially like the lead singers, would always lead their life with character. They'd always show who they were, and so like they
All
take.
right, hold it. You got to get back closer to the
I'm
microphone.
sorry.
I'm losing you a little bit because the
All right.
farther away you get, the harder it is. So,
So they take one part, like one aspect of their being, you know, they'd stay true to themselves. They'd be exactly who they are, I think, because I'm not them, so I don't know for sure. But it seems like they're being honest and displaying themselves for who they are. And they take the main parts of their personality and they just magnify it. And so it's very entertaining to follow, to watch. And it's one of the things I love about them is because I believe that you should live your life with character. I do not think that you should live a dull life. Um, if you life is made of energy, right? Everything's energy, body's made of energy. You got brain, you eat food for energy, and then you get up and you have to use that energy just so that you can go make more energy, and work out is energy just so that you can be healthier, so you get more energy. Your mitochondria turn your oxygen into energy. Like everything is energy, everything around you, right? If we're talking on a computer, that's energy. And so it's just like, look, if you want to keep the energy flowing, you got to live with character. You can't just be dull. You can't just be a consumer. And that's what I love about them. Said they're so powerful because they live
so
with character.
I'm not sure that this is a one-to-one relationship, but there was something. I'm gonna pull this up real quick, and this
You're gonna
is
say there was something in the way.
what?
I thought you were gonna say there was something in the way. I
No, no.
like the
So
Nirvana. Sorry.
on this is the last interview I did with Denise Lee, and this is on a website, which is musicquest.jmattwallace.com. Okay, that's where the website is. the reason why I'm bringing this up is that apart from just the interviews that I did with other people, there was a video I found recently that talked about your brain and music. And it didn't necessarily talk in terms of energy, but it was talking about how we're hardwired into why music does what it does. And it's not the answer to all that. But I'm going to post stuff like this on that website occasionally as well, because I think it's relevant to Music Quest. Things that I think people that would be interested in watching Music Quest and following some of this stuff would find those as well. So when you said what you did, I thought, I bet you he would enjoy watching that video. So this is probably not what I... Yeah, I'll send you all of them. But I did not have this list before this our chat. But as we're talking, I'm like, this guy's going to like this video. I'm pretty sure. So I'll send you that one and the other one and all kinds of stuff. And speaking of completely weird segue, if you're watching right now or if you're listening right now and you haven't followed my channel, follow on Twitch so that you can know. Yeah, because if you've been watching this at all, we're going to have interviews with lots of other people who have very different experiences, and there's no telling what we're going to talk about. And I'm thoroughly enjoying not talking about only music, but I like talking with people who are very serious and thoughtful about whatever we're talking about.
But I'll talk about anything. Why graphics?
No, but see, you clearly fall in that category, and yes, I believe you. Have you ever? I'm not trying to give you a hard time here, so forgive me. But how often do people make comments about the strength of genetics in your family? Because I know your father. He lived with us for a period of time, and you are not him. I want to make that clear.
We actually look pretty alike.
Yeah,
in some ways, but
yeah. But there's a level of engagement in whatever the topic is that I think you would find it. You would either love him or hate him, having met the 19-year-old version of him. I'm trying to remember how old he was when he was living with us. I think he was a little older than that. But has anybody ever brought that up before? I just have to know.
My dad is very interesting because actually sometimes like both my parents, they're like polar opposites. But my dad, I don't know exactly how his brain works, but I think I'm almost convinced he's a genius. Like he just doesn't express everything that's on his mind, but he's very analytical. He's very, very intelligent. I think he understands you when he's paying attention to you, but he's always got a project on his mind. He's always striving for improvement. I don't know. He is
clearly analytical, clearly paying attention and figuring it out, coming to conclusions. Better people.
He has like a similar goal to me is to making the world better. But yeah, we don't communicate the same and everybody's different, but eventually he definitely gets the job done though. He says what's on his mind and he makes his point. And I think you should talk to him now because he has very interesting stories.
I have not talked with him at length, even in passing, in many, 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 many years. He and I exchanged messages, here and there over the decades. It's literally been a long time since he was with us. But you were saying some stuff that really drove home for me. Like this whole interview to some degree is like, wow, I need to go talk to him because you're reminding me of some aspects of it. So let's get back to music. What instrument do you play? Or do you play multiple instruments? Are you a writer, or do you? How do you? Like I said,
So
we've talking music, and we haven't heard any of your music, and we're not going to hear. Okay, you play the
play
guitar.
guitar and I'm
Okay.
learning piano, but I suck at it
Hmm.
temporarily. Um,
I love that. I only
uh,
temporarily suck at
I'm
it.
only temporarily bad. Like I have conversations with my future self. All right. And I say, if you suck at piano, uh, go do like 20 push-ups. All right. Like I can't give myself excuses. I've had that thing for over a year and I avoided playing it for so long because I knew it was going to be a lot of work. But I could play for at least now. So that's an improvement. Um, but
Congratulations.
nobody likes to hear me play that because I played it too many times. Um, Creep by Radiohead, Wicked Game by Chris Isaac. Then I just do freestyle. It's very easy to make a song on all sharps, like on all the black keys. Very easy. You can't mess up on a note because they're all on the same scale. Um, but yeah, I play guitar and I play piano and I'm a vocalist, so I sing, I rap. Um, yeah, I have a Malawian drum in my closet, not on the floor. Nothing in my room is a mess. All right, that's not acceptable because your mind is an extension. I'm sorry, your bedroom is an extension of your mind. It's your space, right? So you better treat it with respect. And I put my drum in like a very protected cupboard up there where it'll get the right temperature because it's made out of animal, like I guess like a goat. And Malawi got old, and they were ready to kill it, and they took its skin and made it into a drum. And I learned how to play that. And I
So
have
did you know the goat?
I wish would have been nice to know who I hit every day. But let me just. This is my board. It's very empty right now, but as you
Uh-huh.
can see, that it's probably flipped. I don't know. This is the three most important questions by Vishen Lakiani. Uh, so I subscribe to Mind Valley, and that's a self-improvement platform. Um, Pretty much, he preaches this thing where it's like you identify what it is you want to improve, and then you also like you ask yourself, it's like, all right, maybe you want to get better at typing fast. Well, why do you want to get better at typing fast? Because you get paid by the hour. No, sorry, you get paid by how much work you do, not by the hour. And so you want to do more work. All right. Why do you want to be able to do more work? You want to get more money. Why do you want more money? So that you can afford a house in another place, so that you can take care of your parents and let them have a house. And it's like, all right, so you want to give your parents a house because you love your parents. So you ask yourself why you do things and you get to the root of it. And here it says, like, the first question is, what do I want to experience? And then you make a column of all the things that are most important to you of what you want to experience, but you get to the root of it. And then the next question is, how do I want to grow? And then you write a column of all the things you want to do to make yourself better and improve. Maybe like gain 10 pounds of muscle, maybe learn how to meditate, maybe become a better person. Always talk to people with a good attitude when somebody's aggravating you or making you mad. You know, you make sure that you respond to them politely because the point is not to fight each other. That's not the goal. And then the third question is, how do I want to contribute? And then you get to the core of that. It's all the changes that you want to make in the world or improvements, all the things you want to give. And I figure, okay, I'll write these down because I've always known who I am and had some idea of my purpose, something creative, right? Let me narrow it down and meditate on it and do everything that I can to become the person I need to be in order to achieve all of this. And I've checked off about half of them now.
That's
But I
fantastic,
think
man.
very important. Sorry for that sidetrack, but look him up.
Fair enough.
Vishen Lakhiani. He's the CEO of Mind Valley. I don't know if everybody knows how to spell his name, but it's VISHENLAKHIANI, I think. Fantastic dude. This is a Kyrgyz flute my mom brought back from one
Mhm.
of her work trips. I can't play it, um, but I try.
I've been to
Uh,
Kyrgyzstan. Did you know that?
yeah, no, I did not know that. Wait, no, yes, I
Russia.
did. You told me. You told me. Yeah,
I've been to Kyrgyzstan. I've
it's a
been
cool
through
place.
southern Kazakhstan. I've not been to Almaty though. How long did you live in Almaty?
Good. More than 3 years. Uh, it's a very wonderful place, but the weather is super confusing because in winter it'll be snow everywhere, and you have to wear like 3 layers, and then or if you're like my brother and I, you're gonna go play soccer ball on the ice with shorts, and then you'll get yelled at by the babushkas, which is Russian for grandmas, and they will try to kill you or throw rocks at you, which if they're trying to protect you, that doesn't make any sense. But they're very nice people. Like that might have just been a few of them that we ran into. But anyway, then the next day, it's burning hot and you can't wear any layers or you will scorch yourself. So just confusing, but it's a wonderful place. It's beautiful. There's a bit of pollution in the city, but you just go like 20 miles out and it's just beautiful hills everywhere. It's landlocked, no ocean, but there's a big lake called Big Almaty Lake.
When we were in Bishkek, it was so ridiculously dry. I think we were there right at Narus, March, and it was we slept with the windows open, and it was so dry. I mean, we just
Yeah.
could not get enough water in our systems. And then the middle of the night, somebody was burning trash, and
Oh yeah,
the
they do that
pollution was
there.
awful.
We
Uh,
were there for a week in the
it
winter,
was
and
yeah, it was a
they
thing.
just do it like once a month. And
So you don't know how to play that Kyrgyz flute, huh?
well, it's got a good 6 holes that you can do,
Right?
but like I don't know why. You don't need to like go into it like a certain way, but
It's not
they're
picking
just
up.
all the same. It's all the same. Every single note sounds the same. So I broke it once upon a time, but I don't know. I have two ocarinas in here that I'm
Okay.
also learning how to play that I can't play. I know
All
like E
right.
minor or did know E minor, but I'm
Fair
gonna
enough.
learn. I'm gonna learn. I'm gonna be a great musician, and then the songs will be better. So right now, I'm just sticking to lyrical stuff, and what I can play guitar. I can do most of my music digitally on the
Mm-hmm.
software,
Mm-hmm.
but I much prefer acoustics. So we'll just see where that goes. I have some friends who we collaborate together. I'm working with a violinist at the moment named Vio, or am I saying his name right? Yeah, VEO, the violinist. And he's very good. He's probably the best violinist in Malawi. And we're making a song together, and I'm playing the guitar, but not much. And then he comes in with the instrumentals mostly, and I'm singing. And it's a very good song. But
So the times I've tried to talk to Theo online, his internet connection just doesn't work.
they've
Is that
had,
your experience?
yeah, I try to talk to him every other day because we're friends and we just like support each other and give each other advice.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but they have blackouts, and that just screws up the Wi-Fi, or like crows would chew on the wires up on the Wi-Fi towers. We actually had a Wi-Fi tower right next to our house. That's not sustainable living. Like that's not good for your system. Messes with your entire biology. But the Wi-Fi tower had a bunch of crows, little tuxedo crows that are black and white, like kind of like this right there. And they would go up, they fly on there, and they just chew on the wires. And I'm pretty sure they died.
Wow.
Wi-Fi
That's not
just goes out.
helpful.
The
So
Wi-Fi goes out, the power goes out every other day.
so I'm gonna edit this and put this on the Music Quest YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Okay. So you can point people to that. If any weird things happen, if I made some mistakes or something like that, I'll edit that stuff out. Maybe.
Can I
But
mention something?
well, what I was going to say is that if
Sorry.
those guys ever watch this,
Yeah.
what do you have to say what do you say to them directly in this format? You got anything? I know you talk to him regularly, but in this format, what would you say to him or tell others about them?
Well, look, your Wi-Fi is a problem. I don't care. All right. I just want to know that you're trying your best. All right. Because a lot of people in Malawi are poor, and a lot of people in Malawi are struggling and trying to make a living. And it's just, they're caught in this thing called the poverty trap. And it's very sad. But my friends are very, very talented. And I know for a fact that if they make the best effort possible, all of you guys, if you just commit, I don't care if you're not motivated, if you're disciplined, you'll be the best you possibly like. There won't be competition anymore. These guys are so talented. So get it together because I love you and we're gonna make a lot of changes. Theo and I have an EP that we've been trying to get out for a while, but then he had to finish college. I had to finish well, I had to heal. I had to recover. And I was in school as well and moving to a new country. And so we decided, all right, we're going to re-record it. So now that we can, we're going to remake the thing and upload it soon.
Okay.
But we showed it to you. Um,
If you need anybody, like I said, I don't know. You may have somebody who can do this, but a lot of times taking someone else's tracks, I can do a form of mastering. You know, basically
yeah.
sonic matching, volume matching. I've done some mastering. I'm not a mastering engineer, but mastering engineers are not cheap. Uh, so I'd probably be really good for the price.
Giving us a discount.
No, I'll just do it for you, depending on how many tunes you got. I mean, and there's also
Yeah,
lots of different levels of detail of mastering that can be done or should be done.
yeah, I
So,
know
I
that
mean,
an artist isn't supposed to master their own track. So
that
probably
is
take you up
very,
on that.
you've learned something very important early on because that is something that um, is not advisable. Now, I can't say that I've always taken that advice myself, but you know, it usually comes down to funding, timing, all that kind of stuff. But it's worth having someone take a look at it that's not been in part of the original uh, recording or the mixing. Just as a
I really
general rule.
appreciate that, by the way. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Well, I haven't done it yet, but I'm just saying we can look at whether or not that might be something
Make
we
it
can
worth your
try.
time. Don't
Well,
worry.
no, I'm not looking for business here. I mean, that's not. Believe me, nothing about Music Quest is financially motivated. this is,
No, I
this
know
is,
you're already
yeah, yeah,
pretty
yeah.
successful. But
Well,
I
depending on
believe
your
I believe
definition of
making people
successful.
inspire me.
Oh well,
So
in that regard, I am happy to hear that there's success in that area. So
um,
fantastic.
I see you as an ambitious person. You've been all over in music and you work on films and you just have these wonderful conversations with us. So that says a lot if you really look into it. Like your Twitch stream, very cool. Mother Merm, your wife's Twitch stream, very cool as well. I'm actually very impressed by her ability to learn a song in like 2 minutes without ever have hearing it before, ever have heard it before. She was, but like
That
I
is
was on a Twitch
impressive.
stream. Yeah, I was on a Twitch stream. I was like, "Could you play Scar Tissue by Red Hot Chili Peppers?" She's like, "I'm not sure if I've heard that before." It's like, "But I'll give it a go." I was like, "Really? Thanks." And then she went. She listened to it once, and she started playing it during things like she memorized everything. It's just
Oh, I don't know about
it's
the
incredible.
memorized part. I'm sure she was looking at some kind of music, a chart or something. But yeah, she is very good. There's no doubt about that.
Pretty good, yeah.
Hey, Mother
Um,
Merm, I think she's on stream. So Mother Merm, you loving all this?
Go check
Uh,
her out. Give her a follow.
so, dude, we don't have like a long checklist of things. I was looking through my classic questions that I like to ask about what do you love about music, engaging things that we've covered almost all of that just through the general course of what we've covered so far. I mean, I think we've talked about a lot of it. And I'm not saying that we've talked about everything there is to talk about, but oh, for the
Yeah,
record, Miriam said y'all are very kind. And just remind you that we're in Texas because she said
I'm
y'all
I'm
kind.
jealous.
Oh, all
Okay.
right, fair enough.
Yeah.
I am too. I mean, it's something that a lot of training, a lot of raw talent, and then just a whole lot of experience. And believe it or not, doing what we've done on Twitch, I would say, has enabled her ability and confidence to do the thing you're talking about because um, over time, she was able to see more and more of what she could try and pull off. So I'd say 4 or 5 years ago, a lot of the stuff that she's doing right now, she wouldn't even tried. She would have said, "Oh, I can't do that." Something about the, once you start down a road and you build some confidence, it gives you the ability to try more things. And when that willingness to try more things coincides with the right opportunity and actual talent, I think it just builds on itself. And the other thing is being willing to crash and burn and it not go well is got to
Every time you try
got to be in
something,
there. Got to be in there.
it's a necessary step for improvement. So a lot of people are afraid to try something because they're afraid of failure. That's
Well,
inevitable. But you
yeah.
don't have to look at it like that. You don't have to say, all right, you know what? I might fail and that's okay. It's just attempt number one, attempt number two, attempt number three, and you'll get it eventually. So if you're stuck on attempt number zero, you did fail, but you failed as much as you possibly could fail because you didn't even make any steps forward. So yeah, just look at it as an attempt and then keep trying. That's
Well, that
what I'm
is
doing with the piano.
extremely well said. And I want you to do me a favor. And this is not a time sensitive request, but when it seems appropriate, I would like you to encourage your father to reach out to me when his schedule allows. First of all, you have to make them watch this. Your parents
I
ought to
will.
know.
No, they're
Your
gonna watch.
friends, yeah, yeah. So
They're gonna watch it.
it's so I don't even have to have you do this. Forget it. If they in fact watch this, hey, Soul's dad, you have to
My
give
real
me
name
a
will be out
call.
there one day, but let's just leave it a
Yeah,
mystery.
yeah, I understand. I'm
Okay, so
honoring
dad,
what we
mom,
talked about.
listen up.
Do it. You need to give me a call. I don't know your mom. Like I said, I met your dad long before that
You'll
was a
get to
thing.
meet
I'm
her.
pretty. Well, cool. I look forward to that.
She's also a genius, except for, you know,
Just leave it at this. Also a genius. Don't say the word
let's just let you
except.
find out. Let's
So
let you
if
find
you
out.
ever find yourself in Central Texas, we have a recording studio here. Once again, I'm not trying to sell you on anything, but you should stop by. We could re-record some stuff. And I will follow up with you on some of the audio engineering stuff that we were chatting about earlier, and maybe see
Yeah.
if I can help you with some of that. And I'll be happy to. And actually, I used to use the system you're using, and I haven't used it recently, but I won't be completely clueless. So,
Talking about Logic Pro.
yeah.
Yeah.
Soul, thank you for your time.
Wait, please, can I say one more thing?
Oh, well, I'm sorry. Yeah, go ahead, man. We're
Yeah,
not
okay.
we're not on
So
a time crunch.
my friend, TJ Bless, he is a very, very interesting guy. He started this foundation and this business, this incorporation called uh, Baobab Entertainment. Baobab is a type of tree in Malawi, and it's a very rare tree, but it grows in Africa. And I asked him to give me a few things to say so that I could talk about this new record. It's the record distribution or music distribution platform that he has created that is just started. Uh, I've lost the screen, but the first few things is that it's not just a music distribution platform. He does everything: short films, comedy, poetry, just permaculture. He started a farm. He's starting a lodge. The guy is just an incredible entrepreneur. It's an official business recognized by the German government. And its goal is to unite the world through music, specifically Malawian musicians. I'll come to Arkansas one day. we'll definitely get some stuff down. I need I need people to know that this guy is incredible because I don't know how to explain this. It's very difficult to be a musician in Malawi because you need money right away because there's not much of it and everything is a struggle when it comes to finances in Malawi. But all the musicians who are struggling to become a musician, this guy has a goal to help. He's trying to get a studio built in Malawi. He's signed many people to the label. And anybody, you don't even have to be signed to the label. You can sign up for an account to get on the platform and post your music and be part of the community. And he made some points. So he says, we are determined to establish creative bridges amongst passionate, dedicated, and visionary creative youth around the world. Baobab is a new creators hub, which is already changing and giving hope to many people, mostly in Africa and other parts of the world. He says that it's a digital creative leadership training and practical platform where creative young talents are given the opportunity to experiment and expose their potential. So, with that being said,
So you met this guy, or you met him online, right?
yeah,
You've talked with him quite a bit.
yeah. I'm not really trying to sell anybody on this idea. I'm just saying this is one of the best places you can go to really get your music out there. Like he's got a playlist, he's starting a radio, and it's just in the works. But if you invest now, you know what they say. Buy
You know,
low,
you
sell
sell.
high, right? So
You were selling.
any shots?
So you don't have any vested interest in this. This is a guy that's doing
I'm part of
something to
it.
help your friends.
I'm
So
a creative director on the platform now.
Oh,
So,
okay. Fair enough.
So yeah, you're gonna be seeing more of that. I'll be posting about it on my Instagram, and I really think you guys should go check it out. I
So
don't
what's going to happen is
go on my
that
Instagram. I'll put a link on there for you guys.
well, I'm going to consolidate this and a couple other things and some real basic stuff. Anything you want linked, you want people to find, I will include on the website page where this
Oh,
will be
perfect.
embedded. Now it'll be this video will be on the YouTube channel, but I'm also on the YouTube on the website. I'll have the date and the embeds of the stuff plus any links so that people can find whatever you want people to find. Okay, is that fair? And we can also add it after the fact in its own posting, or come back to this one if you have music or whenever you got something that you want people to see. Okay, or hear.
Yeah. Also, Theo's on the platform. That's just like once you learn about this guy, Theo, and you learn about pretty much that whole community. There's this girl or woman, wonderful person named Chikondi Wiseman. There's Veo the violinist. There's what's his name? Vidix. It's a very difficult name for me to pronounce because it's I don't know. I don't know why. But it's Vidix. He's a wonderful guy. And just so many wonderful people are on this platform. And they went from struggling to struggling less and having a whole community to back them up. And I think it's just like if we all come together and we give each other a chance, who knows where we'll go, but it won't be down, right? Because we
So
can always lift each other back up.
this person who's created this platform, say the name one more time. You said it was a tree type.
The Baobab Entertainment is named after a tree that's very
Okay.
popular in Malawi. It's like a staple to most of the folk tales and folklore in Malawi,
Okay.
and so it has a very deep history.
So did you
But
say it was in Germany?
TJ Bless is a Malawian who lived and
Oh, okay.
lived there, and he moved to Germany, and then he founded the business and got it recognition from the German government, so it's official, and we're making big moves. So
the
just look
reason why
forward to it.
the reason why I'm asking this is at some point in the future you might want to talk and I maybe interview that guy. I mean, the
Oh yeah,
reason
definitely.
why I wouldn't necessarily try to do this with Theo is you just said his internet wouldn't allow it. But yeah, it'd be
Yeah,
interesting to
I
talk about in the
actually
future.
I think I know a way that you could get Theo on an interview. We have I have some friends in Malawi who I could ask if they could have him over to their house. That they live right next to a Wi-Fi tower, and so the Wi-Fi usually does not go out like maybe once a month, and it's more predictable. So I think there is a way you could get him on, but we'll figure all that out if you really whenever you have time for it. make sure it works.
All right. So, cool.
Yes. I'm sorry for monologuing, by the way.
No. It's no need to apologize for anything. I my strong suspicion was that we would have a good conversation and I would enjoy it. And I'd like to document for the world that I was right.
Oh, you know what? I think there's something to it. Yeah,
What? Well,
I believe
yeah.
you've convinced me.
All right, fair enough. So I do want to say thanks again. Like I said, we'll keep talking. We'll make sure that any links you want to include are
Yeah.
on the stuff that goes along with this. I'll get this cleaned up, get it posted at some point. I'd love for you to follow yourself and maybe follow up on some of our subsequent interviews. As a young musician, I'd love to think that there will be some wisdom or something interesting or at least amusing to you going forward. I uh, I I have always thought it was a an important thing to intentionally build relationships with people who are younger than you, because I get older and older and older and older,
The
and
opposite is true as well.
the younger people keep coming up, keep showing up, and it's it's something you have to intentionally overcome, is just getting locked in with whatever group that you are naturally with. And so I appreciate you taking the time and being willing to talk to me. You know that I don't have any big platform. I'm not selling anything. I'm not trying to convince you of anything. I just wanted to talk about it and encourage you in your music. And the interactions we've had up to this point led me to believe this would be fun. And I was not disappointed. So I hope everybody else enjoyed this as well.
Yeah, I love your audience, by the way. And so like small platform, big platform, it's a good purpose, good mission.
Cool.
We have great talks, conversations. Honestly, I might make a podcast and
Oh,
I might
okay.
want to have you on it. And I might want to
Okay.
interview you and hear your stories.
That would be
That's
fine.
that's dream talk. But one thing I noticed about myself is that I live one big dream. I have to do reality checks to see if I'm dreaming, count my fingers and make sure there's not a sixth one or doesn't stretch. But
Okay.
like, look, I live a dream, right? And that's my reality, that's my truth. And so I think anything I dream is going to happen eventually. So let's just make sure it's not a nightmare, guys. Also, if you intentionally try to improve, if you try to grow, you can fall down because once you've gone up, you know. So doesn't matter. If you stay on the ground though, you're in the position of the person who's fallen, except for you haven't even made an effort. I don't like seeing people. I don't like it one bit. I don't want to be surrounded. I don't like existing in a world where I don't see people trying to improve. Because the truth is, if you rise alone and you fall, that's just because you don't have people with you to hold you up. So hey, rise together, right? I really think that if you make improvements and you have the right people in your circles, then the chance that you will fall is much less likely. So make some friends, rise up, do your best. All right.
I could not agree more. We're going to call it good, buddy. I'm going to say
Yeah.
bye to everybody. We will, like I said, I'm trusting that your parents will watch this, and your
Go watch
dad
it.
will know that it's his job to let me know when we can chat for at least more than 5 minutes, something decent. So I'm going to let you go. You and I will talk some more later, and we're going to call this one good. Thank you so much. If you've not followed or connected, Mother Merm is on Twitch as well. And then that's MUTHERMIRM. And then, of course, JM Wallace. This is where you're going to find
Follow
the,
him.
yeah,
Just do
the,
it.
yeah. This is where you're going to find Music Quest, and I will continue to do some solo ones. But I've lined up. I'm lining up. I've got like 30 people I'm working on getting lined up for interviews, and there's a good variety. I hope you'll enjoy them as much as this one. Thank you so much, Soul, and we will be chatting with you later. And for now,
Yeah,
that's
love
it.
you all a lot.
Take care, buddy.